2.
This is like, how we're gonna cut this is gonna be like round 10.
I know.
So let's talk about McCain's experience.
McCain's experience. All right, so you're talking about, you think that McCain has executive experience because of being in the military. What was he in the military?
He was, I think he retired as either a commander or a captain, I don't recall which one, after 20 years of faithful service. And as a Navy pilot,
right?
He would have been in charge of, shops.
First of all, let's cheers to McCain's service. Seriously.
Okay, fair enough. Cheers to McCain's service. And now that you mention that, let me just say that the thing that I loved about the convention is that this guy really is a war hero. I mean, he really went through some things for our country.
Oh my God.
That
unbelievable.
We can't even begin to understand.
Unbelievable. I was reading about it more. It's unbelievable.
And that, just his ability not to quit and not to lose hope. And I love the story of him falling in love with the country when he was stripped of it and when he was vulnerable in a prisoner of war camp. So I think that I just really liked how they informed the American public of that heroism, because regardless of whether he wins or not, that's to be commended.
And I would say to that, I'm glad he's getting his chance to run for president, and I wish it had happened in 2000.
I supported McCain in 2000, to be honest. I did.
I so wish that it had, we don't really need to get into this, but in 2000 in South Carolina, when he was basically slandered by Karl Rove and George Bush, which eventually led to him losing the primary, I thought that was one of the biggest screw-ups of, not screw-ups, but injustices of modern politics.
Yeah, I remember being pretty pissed about that.
And it was just, because what did they said that he had adopted a kid from Africa, McCain had. And Rove spun it to be like he's having sex with black women or something crazy stupid like that.
Yeah, I think there's an accusation of an illegitimate child or something.
Right,
like that.
and it was so unfounded and so screwed up that it was just.
Yeah. And
then we ended up with that disgusting team for 8 years, and now McCain's finally getting his chance, and it's just past his day. I think.
The age thing is, it's tough. I think he's 72 actually.
Right.
I think.
And people who are 72 have.
But in his defense, did you see his mother?
Yes.
His mother is
90 something.
Like 96.
Yeah.
She's all she. When he introduced her in that speech, did you see how fast she popped up out of her seat and started waving to people? I was like, dang!
I know. Dang! She
was quick. And I'm like, all right.
She's old.
Maybe his age is
Yeah, but we know that women live longer than men.
Yeah. Well,
especially men who've been in stressful jobs.
He's got those genes. He's got those genes.
He does. He does. I just
know, but.
God, man.
So the point is that he has a lot of leadership experience that, and really it's no slam against anybody outside the military, but being in the military just does offer you leadership opportunities that you absolutely will not get in the civilian sector at all. You will get them if you get to be a CFO or CEO or hold some department in a company, or if you're a small business owner, you will have that experience, like you're having now, right?
Yeah.
Or if, I'm sure the leadership is there, for nonprofits and certain community organizations as well. It's hard to know that world because I think there's a lot of differences between organizations in that game.
I mean, there's differences between military brigades, right? And different
yes.
sections of the military.
Absolutely.
You were in the Marines, he was in the Navy, so I'm sure that's different.
Absolutely. But we're both aviators, so we kind of know. Yeah. I kind of know.
What did he fly?
He flew A4s.
What are those like?
I think. So they're Navy attack jets.
Okay.
Off of carriers.
There's a jet Pilot.
Jet
fighter.
Jet fighter.
Right.
Jet pilot.
Jet pilot fighter guy.
So I should check that because I'm pretty sure it was Air Force. But
Yeah.
well, anyway, so
What did you think of his speech?
I'm glad you brought that up because I want to talk about this real quick, and I want to ask you what your opinion is.
Okay.
First of all, let me ask you this: how did you see his speech?
I saw it on TV.
Which network? Do you remember?
Feel like it was MSNBC? I'm not really sure.
Okay.
Maybe CNN, because I usually watch CNN.
Okay. I watched his speech twice. I watched it live. No, I'm sorry. Neither one of them were live. The first one was on Fox News, and the second one was on CNN. CNN HD, which is nice.
Yeah.
So I watched it on Fox News, and I was completely in the speech because I got into the patriotism thing and the heroism thing, and actually got emotional during the speech because I could identify with a lot of what he said, or I could try to imagine it. And I felt that his speech came across really, really well when I watched it on Fox News. 20 minutes later, I went back because CNN was replaying it at a later time, and I watched basically the second half of the speech on CNN. Maybe it was because it was HD, that might have been part of it, but what I noticed was that the cuts were different. So CNN was going from, they were on this camera
Right.
for a different period of time than Fox News and that kind of thing. And when I was watching on CNN, I was like, oh, he doesn't look as good. It looks like he's not as fluid in the speech as I recall it being the first time I saw it. Mm-hmm. And then I thought, well, what is it? Is it the camera? Is it the editing? Is it the high definition versus the regular definition? I didn't think it was the high definition.
The bias of the network?
The bias of the network. All those things I kind of went through in my mind. What I think it is, and this is why I wanted to ask your opinion, because you're a graphic designer. Mm-hmm. And in graphic design that there is an emotional reaction to a design. And that your job as a graphic designer is to try to figure out what emotion you want to bring out from this design, and then make your design to elicit that reaction, either via color or graphics or however you guys do it. It's still sometimes a mystery to me. And sometimes I think that as an artist, when you create something, then a little bit of your own emotion goes into that creation. And so when somebody else hears it, they will probably have the same emotion that you had when you were creating it, because I notice this with music. So when I write a piece of music and I write it from an emotional perspective and I write it just for myself, I play it for somebody else and they say, wow, that makes me feel like this. And I'm like, cool, because that's how I was feeling it when I was writing it.
Right.
I think that editing is the exact same way. And I think that how you cut something, how you go from camera to camera, and which angles you use, whether consciously or subconsciously, I would argue that it's subliminal.
Yeah, because if you're the editing guy and you're like, God, this speech is bullshit, let me just cut to this guy over here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's saying the same thing he said last time, let me cut over here.
Exactly. And meanwhile at Fox News, the guy's like,
you're like,
gosh, this guy, no. It's probably like, wow, this is really good. This guy's a hero. No kidding. He's a hero. Okay, look at this. Oh, that's a good review. And I think that translates into the final product.
I think it very well could. I actually remembered while you were saying that is I listened to it on the radio. I listened to it on the radio live.
Okay.
On NPR.
Okay.
And they had typical NPR. They had conservative and a liberal person